Yeah, I think Burr pretty much sums it up there, Cheryl. You're exactly right. What a cold morning. Nothing extraordinary as far as it setting a record or anything like that. It just hasn't been down to this level. And, well, really since February of last year. And if we were to have dropped below 20, it would have been the coldest day of the year. And I'm talking about all the way back to January, which tells you how mild things were for the last winter scenario. Hope you guys are doing well. Wave meteorologist Brian Good. I will have a quick update here today. I won't be able to go a full on length here on the actual blog post. I feel like they're always short anyway. But today, I need to get ready and head to New Albany. I'm going to be out there for the Food Angels today to hopefully get more of those taken off the tree and in those check lanes and get some food on some families' dinner tables for this upcoming season. So if you're out in New Albany, you want to come say hello, I'll be out there doing the weather as well. I know I got this weird wire sticking out of my head. It's these IFBs, interrupted feedback, these earpieces we have to wear. They're not very exciting to wear, trust me. But if we didn't have them, trust me, I would be lost because I feel like I need them all the time in life. Just someone just to give me cues. What do I need to do next? Do I go outside and fix the inflatable? Or do I go on the couch and watch the latest episode of The Crown on Netflix? That kind of thing. I need those kind of cues in my ear. Just don't get them often. All right, but I will be out there, so come out and say hello. I would love to see you guys if you're able to do so. All right, so as always, I love your comments. Appreciate it. Yes, cold weather was the big story so far in Louisville. 25 was the low this morning. We are missing some of the data this morning from some of our sites in Kentucky, but overall we had a few 17 and 18s into portions of Meade County, Oldham County. Got down to about 18 degrees this morning. Had a couple of 20s that were out there, so it was cold. And yeah, you're talking about the snow flurries. I'll show you where those are at as well, because that got the attention of some that were up during the overnight hours. All right, the snowboard. As of today, I still have not added an item back on here. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, there are a couple of things to look at in the longer term. Most of it's going to be short term. They're going to be able to pick out, and this kind of a pattern, that's going to be the game plan. There is one that is showing up that may get added as early as tomorrow, maybe, but it needs a little more time in the oven. So I'm going to wait on that. There's no rush. So just stay tuned. Just know I'm watching it carefully. The atmosphere is a very complex and sensitive setup when it comes to wintry weather. So I got to look at all of the different factors, and if they all don't really line up to at least make me happy enough to put it on the board, they won't make it on the board. Outside, cold look to the mighty Ohio, blue sky at least. We, again, numbers now that we don't have all of them being reported. We're working on that, a little bit of a glitch there, but 26 in Louisville, 19 right now into Seymour, 19 as you head into North Vernon. Wind chills have been into the single digits at times. Louisville was right around 10 or 11 for a wind chill, but there were a lot of you. There were about 6 and 7 for a wind chill this morning. Ouch. That stings, right? Now, we are forecast to get above freezing today. If we do not get above freezing, that would be the first time for Louisville since about the 3rd of February. Actually, the 4th, excuse me. The 4th of February is the last time we were able to get to that level. So we'll see if that can be repeated. With sunshine right now and 26 already at 9:46 a.m., I think we have a good chance to get to at least the freezing mark. Either way, it is cold. Yes, it's sunny out, at least here. We do have a few clouds to the north across Indiana. In fact, when you scoot a little further up toward Indiana, now you see the snow flurries that are flying. Typical Arctic air. This is true Arctic air, by the way, that is in the area. A little chunk of it moved down into Canada, and it's because it holds very little in the way of moisture, but it can develop snow flurries a lot easier than it can, say, sprinkles in a warmer setup. So snow flurries are easy to generate, even with very small amounts of moisture. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of flurry action. They don't cause any problems. They just fly around. They flurry. And that's why Indiana up to 71, Carrollton area, Cincinnati, all had a nice little show of flurries. We even had flurries here in Louisville. Several of our cameras this morning in the metro were picking up flurries flying around. Didn't cause any problems, thank goodness, but festive flakes is what I like to call these, right? Turn on the other radars, you see the same storyline. They don't always show up until they get a little closer to radar sites, so they look a little blotchy that way. The reality is likely they are a little more filled in. It's just the radar just doesn't see it, just like drizzle, until the very last minute. All right, it's going to get cold again tonight. In fact, tonight should be actually colder on the actual temperature than what we had this morning, but the wind chills should not be as brutal. Either way, cold. Teens and 20s are likely for the area. So get ready to have those furnaces stay on all night again tonight. Then we warm up rapidly on Wednesday. It's going to be windy too. Wind gusts 30, 35 miles per hour as we just flip the wind direction around and try to get this colder air, which cold air is heavy. It likes to lay close to the ground. So you got to scoop it. Warm air goes over it. And so the warm air has got to really blow for a while there to try to move that colder air out of the way. It takes some time. That's how you get ice storms in that scenario, because the cold air is always so slow to move out of the way, yet you get warm air flying overhead and you create rain, but the cold air just lingers. Well, don't worry. This is not going to be an ice storm scenario. We have a good enough window of time here for the warm air to do its thing, to get it all out in time before we get our system to move in on Friday. It'd be Thursday night into Friday. The only thing that's interesting here that I'm starting to see on some of the high-res modeling that needs more time in the oven is that there is some dry air at play on Friday, to where we get the rain to move in. We will likely be in the 50s, but as the rain picks up in intensity, some of the rainfall will evaporate. And if that happens, that is a cooling process. And I have seen some of the modeling try to drop our numbers down into the lower 40s, if not right around 40. And then I'm getting profiles indicating sleet or ice pellets could mix in with the rain before the warmer air fights back and we rise back up in temperature Friday afternoon. So could be interesting. It's not going to cause a problem. I just want to mention, because if that trend holds, the only thing you would notice from it is if you're driving around town while it's raining and you hear a little ding, 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 on the windshield of some ice pellets. That's what I'm talking about. It's possible. Just gives you an idea of how we're at that time of the year where things have got to bounce out just right for these systems to get either all rain or snow. Sometimes it's a mix of different types there. All right, this one's going to be mainly just a soaking rain, though, for us. It's good soaking rain. Still looking good at about a half inch or more of rainfall to this. Friday afternoon, by the way, if you have plans, does look better than Friday morning. Friday morning looks messy. The morning commute looks messy. Lunch looks messy. Friday afternoon, evening looks a lot better. Good news there. We get into Friday night, things are quiet. Most of Saturday's quiet, but then we get into Sunday. The system on Sunday is still looking a little ragged. It's a little disjointed. There's two different areas of low pressure that are developing, one here into the south, one developing in the Great Lakes, that little dip right there. So they're not exactly fully connected. We may end up finding that wave country is going to fit perfectly in between the two. I can't talk today. In between the two waves to allow for some lift and some showers, but not as widespread as we saw with the Friday rain event. But the storm track of these lows just developing out of Texas, moving east. We talked about this yesterday. This is true El Nino. True El Nino. El Nino just got another kick upward on its intensity. The new report that came out yesterday, we'll be discussing that probably later this week. But it's locking in a classic El Nino pattern now. So that storm track is going to keep happening. That's not a good storm track to get a lot of cold air down in our area. But there will be opportunities to get cold air to ride down at times. As I mentioned before, they have to connect these low pressures. You've got to have it all about the timing. You've got to have a low moving past our latitude, heading into the mid-Atlantic, and then you get a clipper or any kind of wave that wraps around out of Canada and tries to just merge with it. That is how you get a little more of a wintry setup. In fact, that's nearly the only way you're going to get it without the true cold air presence in the lower 48. But that's how you get snow in warm environments. And sometimes you can get some big time surprises. El Nino is known for that, but they're not going to show up in the future. It's a stress. They're just not going to. That makes it more stressful for us, not for you, just for us. All right. So we get into Sunday. There's that split system, a few showers around. Here's where we start to see one of those digs that happens. This one's a little delayed compared to yesterday, but it digs down. It's looking for a friend, but the main low is already left. So it may just spin out in this area of the Appalachians and into the Poconos area, Adirondacks. I don't know if it's going to be able to produce anything wintry, but I am watching it because if it were to slow down a little more, like it did yesterday, there could still be a little bit more of a system here to work with that can be wintry, and that would be about the middle of next week. Does look very windy, though. This kind of a setup features a lot of wind for the eastern seaboard, with this kind of a dig being dramatic. These cold air blasts, they do not have much staying power. They dig into the lower 48, they dig into the Tennessee Valley, and they're getting pushed quickly out of town, and that is creating a tight pressure gradient. So a lot of wind is going to be in the offing there as we head into later next week and into the extended after that. Then we'll try to get into a somewhat warmer pattern before we reset again for mid-December. I looked at the ensembles, and this is hard to see. I'm going to show it to you full screen of the system for next Wednesday. Looking to see if any of them are picking up on that idea of any combination. There are a couple that do try to show that. There's one here, maybe one here, somewhat here and here. So there's not a lot. If the ensembles are all screaming the same thing, my confidence would be higher. But there's a lot of them that do not have much of excitement on this idea. So that's the reason why right now I do not have it on the snowboard. But I do think it's something we'll be watching. The cold air, again, the core of it still on the other side of the globe. We'll see if it can flip around and do a late December attack. I was looking at some of the most recent long range on the Euro. They came in last night, early this morning, and it did signify, at least on the temperature side of things, as we head into late December into the first 10 days of January, it is showing a classic cold scenario for us, for the southern part of the United States. Does that all mean snow? Doesn't always, but it could. I'll actually show you guys the snow map on this coming up tomorrow. Not today, but tomorrow, because I'm running out of time. All right, have a good rest of the day, guys. Stay warm, stay toasty, and I will see you all on the flip side. Take care.